World Cup 2026 qualifying resumed in the October international window for Asia, South America, and Oceania, and some absolutely insane results happened in this window. Back-to-back Asia Cup champions Qatar are still at risk of not qualifying automatically, so are Saudi Arabia, who didn't win at all this window despite only playing at home. China actually somehow got a win despite being absolutely booty cheeks. I know, it's kind of surprising. Bolivia are actually in serious contention of qualifying for the World Cup, while Uruguay this time are at a potential risk of not qualifying, etc, etc. So as you can see, there have been many crazy results and upsets. And with that, let's take a look at everything that happened in the October international window regarding the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. I would like to announce that I have now created a Discord server where I aim to build a thriving football community that is interested in just discussing the sport with like-minded people, and also at the same time bond over the videos I make. It's basically a hub for my community. So if you got a Discord and are interested in joining, be sure to click the link at the top of my description and join the community. Alright, back to the video. Let's start off with the AFC World Cup qualifiers first. And just a reminder on how this process works. For every group at Asia's World Cup qualifying, the first two places in the group get an automatic ticket to the World Cup, while third and fourth place go to the next round of qualifying, and fifth and sixth place will be eliminated. Had to say that part for the new viewers, and for those of y'all who don't remember. Anyway, starting off with Group A at the Asian World Cup qualifiers, we got Qatar, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Uzbekistan, North Korea, and Kyrgyzstan playing for a ticket at the 2026 World Cup. And after the September international window, the table looked like this. Uzbekistan was in first place with 6 points, Iran was in second place with also 6 points but less goals forwarded, then the United Arab Emirates were in third with 3 points, North Korea were in fourth with 1 point, back-to-back Asian Cup champions Qatar were shockingly in fifth with 1 point, and Kyrgyzstan was in dead last with 0 points. And now moving on to the first game of matchday 3, let's talk about Uzbekistan versus Iran. And these two are the heavy favorites to make it out of this group and qualify automatically to the 2026 World Cup. So football fans thought that this clash was about to be an all-time Asian classic, especially after the fact that these two countries were in the same group in the second round of 2026 World Cup qualifying, with both of them getting 14 points, and in the 2 games they played each other in, it was a 2-2 and a 0-0 draw, which meant that these two sides could not be separated. And this only added on to the fact that if any of these countries won this game, they would basically be guaranteed a spot at the World Cup, since nobody else could really compete consistently with these two heavyweights. But instead, this anticipated matchup ended up being a snooze fest. I mean, throughout the game, there were only a total of 6 shots on target. You'd expect there to be more, especially from Uzbekistan's side, because they only had 1 shot on target when they were a man up for like 35 minutes. You see in the 57th minute, Salih Hardani committed a studs-up challenge to Uzbekistan's captain and best player, Shomurodov, and because of that, he received a straight red card and got sent off. But even with this man-up advantage, Uzbekistan failed to make it count. In fact, it seemed like Iran were the better team despite being down to 10. And I was actually pretty impressed by them, I can't lie. Additionally, they even had a late penalty call at a time, but the ref overturned it after seeing that the Uzbekistan defender had his hand in a natural position. And even after that, Iran almost snatched the game towards the end too. Overall, it was a really disappointing match. I really wanted to see Uzbekistan go at Iran, especially being at home and having a man up. But overall, both favorites receiving a point is something that these two sides are not going to complain about. But moving on from this game, let's now go to Qatar, a supposed heavyweight in Asia, versus the bottom of the group, Kyrgyzstan. Now this was a battle at the bottom, because as I mentioned previously, Qatar, the back-to-back Asian champs, were somehow 5th place on the table, and have had a bad start to Asia World Cup qualifying, losing to UAE at home in the first game, and drawing to North Korea away 2-2 in the second game back in September. But now, Qatar had an opportunity to redeem themselves and get their World Cup qualifying campaign back on track, with them having to play Kyrgyzstan, the weakest team in this group, respectfully. Now, if y'all watched the September video, you guys would know that I actually like Kyrgyzstan, and I'm a huge fan of one of their players, Joel Kojo, and I think he's an absolute beast. But for him and the rest of the national team to go to Doha and steal a point was a task too difficult, because they didn't do that. Instead, Qatar got the business done. The Arab nation dominated this match completely, having 64% possession, 30 shots, and 8 of those on target. And they also almost had double the amount of passes compared to the Kyrgyz. And they would make this domination count in the 39th minute, where from a corner, taken by the brand new Qatar player, the Belgian-born Brazilian who just got his first cap with the Qatari national team after receiving citizenship recently, Edmilson Jr., sent the ball in. And after finding the head of a teammate before finding Almoz Ali's balls of steel, Ali put the ball in to give Qatar a 1-0 lead. Bro literally scored with his cock. You know that shit was definitely hard. Hey yo! Moving on from that, in the 63rd minute, Akram Afif sends in a cross from a dangerous area, but it takes a deflection from the Kyrgyzstan defender, Damirlan Kuzubayev, and goes into the back of his own net to put the Qataris up 2-0. Then, even though Shukurov brings the game back within 1 for Kyrgyzstan in the 76th minute with a well-taken finish, Ibrahim Al-Hassan sealed the game off 4 minutes later in the 81st minute after his team pounced on a mistake in the back to seal the game 3-1 and bring Qatar their first 3 points of the third round of AFC World Cup qualifying. I feel for Kyrgyzstan, man. I would have loved to see them snatch a point, but Qatar were just too good. And in all honesty, Kyrgyzstan really had no chance in this match.
Come on, man! That's too easy.
Now I do want to highlight Akram Afif really quickly. He's easily Qatar's best player and one of the best players in Asian football. And I feel like this dude does not get the respect he deserves. I mean, peep these stats from this game alone. He literally had 11 chances created against Kyrgyzstan and now has 18 chances created through the 3 games of the third round, which is more than or equal to the entire UAE national team, Iraq, Kuwait, Indonesia, China, and Bahrain. Shout out Jack and the rest of Deadball TV for these stats, by the way. Super underrated channel. Feel free to check him out. And this is Afif all by himself, by the way. Not the Qatar national team, just him. Wow, Akram Afif, he's the real deal. Asian football is just too easy for him, man. After all, he literally just got a hat-trick in the Asian Cup final earlier in January.
That's too easy.
Let's now move on to the last game of Matchday 3 in AFC Group A, where we had the United Arab Emirates versus North Korea. Now this game was a good one, and if you're a regular viewer of this channel, you would know that I'm a North Korea simp.
What do you mean by that?
Only in football though, do not get it twisted. The US government, if you're watching this, I don't mean politically. Please, don't come after me. Anyways, regarding the North Korean national team, I have a dream where I want to see the United States get grouped with North Korea at the World Cup, and they have to play each other. That will literally be the most viewed football game of all time in my opinion. And for that to happen, I would need North Korea to qualify for the World Cup. And I wanted them to beat the UAE in this game, despite being away from home. It ain't personal, UAE, it's just business.
It's not personal, son. It's strictly business.
Now, North Korea's national team is actually pretty damn good. It's just impossible to do a proper analysis on them because, well, it's North Korea. Who the hell knows anything about them? Regardless, they showed why they're good once again versus the UAE, with them having the better attacking stats, like 17 shots, with 6 of them on target compared to the UAE's 1, and despite having around 130 less passes compared to the UAE, the accuracy of them was only 6% behind the Arab nation. In the match 2, North Korea had most of the chances in the first half, and it seemed like in the second half, they were going to get the win. But just like the UAE did to Qatar, they showed up in the second half out of nowhere, at least initially. A UAE sheikh must have promised them Ferraris this time or something, I swear. In any case, in the 66th minute, Yahya Al-Ghassani goes on a solo run from the halfway line uncontested, and he finds his way into the North Korea box and then shoots the ball straight at the keeper, in which somehow the keeper didn't save it and the ball goes in to give the UAE a 1-0 lead. From here on out, UAE and their fans definitely thought that they had this game in the bag. But like I said before, North Korea ball is no joke, and they turned up the heat tenfold after this goal went in. Literally 5 minutes later in the 71st minute, North Korea wins a penalty due to a silly challenge from a UAE defender, and the one and only my boy Hong Kwang-song steps up. If y'all don't know who this is, he was once labeled the North Korean Ronaldo and played for the likes of Cagliari and even Juventus in the Serie A, but due to UN restrictions, he had to go back to North Korea and he disappeared off the face of the earth for like 3 years before resurfacing due to these World Cup qualifiers. If you're interested in learning about his story, I'm gonna do an entire video about him, since I'm a Hong Kwang-song stan. And since I'm a huge fan of the kid, I wanted him to convert this penalty so bad, but instead he shot a poorly taken penalty into the hands of the UAE keeper, Khalid Asa, one of the best goalkeepers in Asia, and the game remained 0-0. And this missed penalty now means that North Korea are 0 for 2 from the spot in these third round qualifiers. They gotta start working more on penalties in their training sessions for real. I don't want to see another one missed. But anyway, seeing Hong Kwang-song miss from the spot really tore my heart into pieces, bruh. But fear not, North Korea learned from the great Nick A30 and took his inspirational words into heart.
Never back down, never what?
Never give up!
Let's run it! Let's go!
And in the 86th minute, when it all seemed lost, Jong Il-kwon finds an open header on the back post from across and heads it in to bring the game back level for North Korea, and the match would end in a 1-1 stalemate. A very impressive point for North Korea, and kind of an underwhelming one for the UAE, because they would expect to win after being at home and having the lead. And also, this game was on the back of that impressive win against Qatar in September. But low-key, North Korea should have won this game. Maybe they'll look back and regret not securing 3 points against the UAE. Only time will tell. Was that a bit of foreshadowing? Perhaps. Anyways, let's now head over to matchday 4 in Group A, where we'll start with Uzbekistan versus the United Arab Emirates. Now, if you take a look at the stats, you'll see things like 24 shots for Uzbekistan with 4 on target, and the UAE having 5 shots on target, etc. But in all honesty, this game wasn't too exciting. And I'm sorry if this is offensive to any Uzbek viewers out there, but man, y'all national team is just boring as shit. Don't get me wrong, you guys are efficient and good, which is why after this game, I could confidently say that Uzbekistan will make their first ever World Cup, but they just do it in such boring fashion, man. I have to say it how it is. Like, look, in the game, both teams had opportunities to score. Yes, UAE had a little bit more, but just like in the game against Iran, the opposing side to Uzbekistan went down to 10 men, and it was because of this very rash slide tackling challenge from Abdullah Hamad in the 65th minute. A deserved red for sure. But after the UAE went down to 10 men, it just felt like Uzbekistan were more passive than I felt like they should have been. Yes, I'm aware they got a penalty due to a handball from a UAE defender, and the Uzbek Shukurov stepped up to the plate and slotted in the penalty to give Uzbekistan the lead, something that they would hold on for the rest of the match as they won the game 1-0. But my point stands. It feels like Uzbekistan Uzbekistan are just a little too passive and too boring. But they won the game, and they're in pole position to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. So you gotta respect it. A win is a win.
A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say.
Now let's move on to the next match. And this was a game I was actually looking forward to the most in this window. It's Kyrgyzstan versus North Korea. Now I like both of these national teams for separate reasons, as I mentioned before. But I wanted to see North Korea win more. These guys have ballers on their squad. And with the Kyrgyz probably being the weakest team in the group, I fully expected North Korea to take care of business here. But the match went in the exact opposite direction. It all went south for North Korea early on in the 11th minute, where after some terrible defending and some questionable goalkeeping abilities / positioning, Christian Brosman gets on the end of the ball and hits it in somehow to give the Kyrgyz a rare lead in AFC World Cup qualifying. North Korea, what were y'all doing, bruh? And the goalkeeper? How did you not save that? I swear, you put me in the net and I'm saving that ball 10 out of 10 times. But calm down, there was still some hope, because North Korea had been used to going down in World Cup qualifying and finding a way back in the match. So I thought maybe North Korea could come back and get the win this time. But it seems like they left those shooting missile boots they usually have back in Pyongyang, because no matter what they try in this game, they failed to score, and North Korea lost to Kyrgyzstan away from home. Bro, with performances like this, my agenda of wanting to see USA versus North Korea at the World Cup won't happen, because these guys aren't getting their shit together. First you screw up a penalty against the UAE, and then you lose to the Kyrgyz away. With all due respect, of course. Come on, man. North Korea have used all their lives. They're on their last one if they want to make it to the next round of qualifying for the World Cup, and forget about an automatic ticket to the tournament. Uzbekistan and Iran got that on lock. And speaking about Iran, let's talk about their match against Qatar. Now these two sides have some beef with each other in recent history, because at the AFC Asian Cup earlier this year, Iran looked like the favorites to go on and maybe win the tournament. After all, they knocked out the favorites Japan in the quarterfinals 2-1, but in the semis, they had to play against the host Qatar, and despite taking an early lead in the match, they somehow ended up losing 3-2, and Qatar went on to win the Asian Cup in their place. So with this World Cup qualifying match, Iran wanted revenge, and they knew defeating Qatar would put their World Cup hopes in jeopardy. So Iran were ready to go out there and get it back in blood, and that's what they did. Iran weren't even allowed to play at home. They had to play in Dubai, but that didn't matter to them. They wanted all the smoke. In the game though, Qatar actually got the surprising lead thanks to Almoz Ali, who brought the ball down beautifully and finished it fiercely into the back of the net to give his nation the 1-0 advantage. Iran got opened up like a spandex on Miami Beach. That was too easy for the Qataris. But I did say Iran wanted the smoke, and they got what they wanted. Turns out, the horse lover who sacrificed his potential to go to Dubai is actually still quite good at football, and he showed why, by not only smashing the ball into the crossbar from a chance he created himself in the 32nd minute, but mainly because of his header goal that he scored from in the 42nd minute. But Asmoon wasn't done in this game just yet, because in what felt like a mistake from Qatar's goalkeeper that came straight out of FIFA, like literally he tripped over his own player, what the hell? Asmoon got on the end of the loose ball and finished it to give the Iranians a 2-1 advantage in the game. Fair play to Asmoon, man. He came up clutch for his country when they thought he didn't care about the sport no more. He's a big game player, it seems like. The fun doesn't stop for Iran yet though, because Mohebi also comes up big with 2 goals himself. One in the 65th minute where he got a free goal thanks to Asmoon's unselfish pass, and then a headed goal from him in the 90+8th minute to secure a 4-1 win for Iran. Up until this game, I thought Iran were a national team that was on the decline, and that they only played boring football and somehow would always end up with the 1-0 win. But in this game, Iran proved me wrong, and they killed the back-to-back Asian champions. Seems like they got their revenge successfully, like Sasuke finally defeating Itachi after hating him for years, until he finds out that Itachi was actually a pretty good Oops, that was kind of spoiler territory. Let's not talk about that part. Anyways, with all that being said, Group A of Asian World Cup qualifying in the October international window has now been wrapped up. So let's take a look at the table standings. We got Iran in first place thanks to their goal difference and also 10 points. Then Uzbekistan is right behind them with also 10 points. The United Arab Emirates are still somehow in third with 4 points. Qatar is in fourth with also 4 points, just a lower goal difference after getting bodied by Iran. Then Kyrgyzstan are in fifth with them having an overall impressive window, and North Korea are in dead last in sixth. And although it seems like North Korea is dead in the water, don't worry North Korea fans, if there are any of you out there, there's still hope. Most of North Korea's remaining games are going to be at home, and they're only 2 points behind a 4th round spot, so all hope isn't lost, believe me. But anyways, it's now finally time to move on to Asian World Cup qualifying Group B, where we've got the likes of South Korea, Iraq, Oman, Jordan, Palestine, and Kuwait. And after the September international window, the table looked like this. Jordan were in first place in the group with 4 points, only ahead of second due to goals scored. Then South Korea were in second with 4 points, Iraq were in third with also 4 points, important to note that they had no goals conceded. Then Kuwait were in 4th place surprisingly with 2 points, Palestine were in 5th with 1 point, and Oman shockingly were dead last in the group with 0 points. Let's now move on to the first game of match day 3 in AFC World Cup qualifying Group B, where we had Jordan versus South Korea. Now these two Asian countries have had some recent beef in 2024, which is why football fans were looking forward to this match very much. But before we talk about that, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, follow my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you just want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, offers, and overall just to get to know me more. And also make sure to join the Discord server, link in the description, and also follow me on Twitch. Live streams coming soon. You see, back at the AFC Asian Cup in January, South Korea were looking like one of the favorites to go on and win their third Asian Cup, their first one since 1960. But in the semifinals against Jordan, they collapsed. Maybe due to their poor tactics from their then manager at the time, Jürgen Klinsmann, or because of the beef between Lee Kang-in and Heung-min Son that shook up the whole squad. Don't worry, these two are more than fine now, or potentially it was a mix of both of these things. But regardless, South Korea collapsed, and Jordan won the match 2-0 to make it to their first ever Asian Cup final, while South Korea failed with a golden opportunity. So now, with South Korea traveling away to Jordan for this World Cup qualifying game, you know that there was going to be a lot of eyeballs on this heated and initially even matchup. But in all honesty, it wasn't even at all. In fact, South Korea dominated this match despite being away from home. They did have one less shot compared to Jordan, yes, but they had 3 more on target, they had more than 3/4 of the possession, and they completed 89% of their 761 passes, which was more than triple basically of Jordan's. And South Korea would make this domination of the game count in the 38th minute, with the number 10 Lee Jae-sung having a wide open header in front of the goal and headed the ball into the net to put the South Koreans up 1-0. The South Koreans would double their lead in the 68th minute too, thanks to Oh Hyun-gyu, who scissored his way past the Jordanian defender and hit the ball straight into the net to put his country up 2-0. And by the end, South Korea would hold on to that 2-0 lead and defeat Jordan away from home, the same country that beat them to reach the AFC Asian Cup final. Really disappointing stuff from Jordan, I can't lie. I expected them to compete at least a little bit better, but instead, it felt like all the good chances fell to South Korea, and they had this game wrapped up for minute 1. And I know Jordan were missing Al-Tamari, arguably their best player, but South Korea were also missing their best player, Heung-min Son, who was out of this window due to injury. So there's no excuses for Jordan. It's a tough loss for them at home, and they look like a shadow of their former selves compared to a few months ago. And for South Korea, I was really impressed with that, I'm not gonna lie. Last window, they went away to Oman and got the dub, and now this window, they did the same here, but to Jordan. Fair play to them for real. Let's now move on to the next match in Group B, where we had Oman versus Kuwait. Now this was this group's battle of the bottom, with Kuwait impressing in the previous window, getting draws against Jordan and Iraq, while Oman actually got bodied in the first 2 games, losing to Iraq away from home 1-0, and then losing to South Korea at home 3-1. But like I said in the last video, Oman has recently been known as a pretty good Asian side, and the fact of the matter is, they had to face arguably the 2 best teams in the group in Iraq and South Korea, with one of them being away from home. So Oman taking 2 L's shouldn't be too alarming, and I mean, they showed why in this game, because Oman absolutely dog walked, stepped all over, and for lack of better terms, bit Kuwait in this game. It should have been India in this game instead, for real. We would have done better. Who am I kidding? No, we wouldn't. We probably would have lost 7-0 or something.
Hey man, that's not cool.
Now, not only did Oman dominate in the shots on target, the possession, passes, pass accuracy, etc., but they also dominated in their goal score too.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
From the get-go in the 17th minute, after some very good 1-2 play, Abdul Rahman Eid Harib Al-Mushafri scored to put Oman up 1-0. And damn bro, that's one long ass name. Felt like I just read out an entire dictionary to you guys. Anyways, back to the game. Muhsen Al-Ghassani would double the score in the 30th minute with a header right in front of the goalkeeper. And then after, Kuwait got a couple of chances, but the man with the long name would make it 3-0 in the 58th minute thanks to an incredible pinpoint finish. But the game isn't over just yet, because in the 79th minute, Abdullah Fawaz would pounce on a great cross from his teammate to make it 4-0 and steal a triumphant win for Oman in the 3rd round of Asian World Cup qualifying, breaking the Arab nation's losing streak. Well played, Oman, well played. The streets thought you were finished, but you're back now, I guess. Or are they? Ooh, foreshadowing. Spoiler alert, they're not really back, but we'll get to that. And Kuwait, yeah, nah. Huh? And now let's finally move on to the last Group B game of Match Day 3. We got Iraq versus Palestine, and this game went exactly as how people thought it would go. Look, it would have been an incredible story if Palestine, with everything going on with their nation off the pitch, went to Iraq with the crazy and amazing fan atmosphere they got over there, and somehow got at least a point. But the thing about Iraq in 2024 is, although sometimes unconvincingly, meaning they don't like to run up the score a lot, they handled their business well. And the minute I saw Ayman Hussein back in Iraq's starting 11, I knew they would cook. There was a huge debate online whether Hussein would even be fit enough to play for Iraq in this October international window, with him needing to go to the hospital after an injury last time or something like that, but it seemed like he was fit enough to make the starting 11 against Palestine. And this would be crucial for the Iraqis, because in the 31st minute, Hussein somehow controlled the ball against 2 Palestinian defenders, and then hit the ball with his weak left foot straight to the bottom left corner to put Iraq up 1-0 in the match. And then although Iraq failed to score again in this match despite getting most of the chances, and Palestine failing to capitalize from a corner kick late into the game, with a new Palestinian recruit, Wessam Abu Ali, almost scoring with a header, Iraq held held on to that 1-0 lead and secured those very important 3 points. Listen, as I said before, Iraq might not be the most convincing national team, beating teams 3-0 or 4-0 and stuff like that, but they're strong in defending, and they're getting the job done regardless, so fair play to them. And for Palestine, unlucky, but all hope isn't lost, of course. At least not yet. Let's now move on to match day 4 for Group B, where we're going to start off with the South Korea versus Iraq game. This was one of the biggest games in this international window in Asia, especially because both of these teams are favorites to make the World Cup from this group. And although on the surface it would seem like South Korea would maybe win this game with ease, but the truth is, Iraq are much better than what people think. And Heung-min Son is also out of this window because of injury, as I mentioned before. Therefore, this game was a tricky one to predict, but the home team did their job and dominated the match. If we just look at the stats, sure, Iraq might have had more shots, but South Korea had 3 shots on target. And let's just say, they didn't miss a single one of those.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
He's good.
Additionally, these guys dominated a little more than 3/4 of the possession, and their pass accuracy was almost a 90%. As an Asian man myself, not that type of Asian, but Asian nevertheless, when you see something close to 90%, you know that you've done one hell of a job. That's an A- after all. And South Korea did just that. Even though Iraq seemed like they would be the ones breaking the deadlock first, it was South Korea obviously, and it was thanks to Oceania, who found an open spot in the box and scored the goal in the 41st minute to give the Koreans the lead. But this lead wouldn't last too long, since early on in the second half at around the 50th minute, who else but Mr. Inevitable, Ayman Hussein, scored some sort of bicycle kick-ish to bring Iraq back level in this game. Hussein is insane. Yo, that kinda rhymed. I'm Eminem and shit.
You are not him. You are not him.
But like I was saying, he's cracked. He's now scored in 10 consecutive international matches, only number 4 by the likes of all-time greats like Ali Dai, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and Neymar Jr. Elite company for an inevitable striker. But his inevitability couldn't help Iraq get the W, and that's because Oh Hyung-gyu was open in the box to receive a cross in the 74th minute and ended up burning his chance to bring South Korea the lead back. And in the 83rd minute, Lee Jae-sung gets on the end of another Korean corner, and his diving header smashes the ball into the back of the net to give South Korea a 3-1 lead. And even though Bayesh ended up scoring in the 90+5th minute to bring 1 goal back for Iraq, it wasn't enough, and South Korea ended up winning the match 3-2 and secured a huge victory in their World Cup qualifying hopes. And no cap, after seeing South Korea defeat 2 favorites alongside them in this group, just in this window, in Jordan and Iraq, without their main man and captain Heung-min Son, I think South Korea is in pretty safe hands to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. Iraq are also in pretty good hands, but they're definitely competing for that second place spot versus Jordan. And speaking of Jordan, let's talk about their match against Oman next. And remember how I said earlier that Oman was back, and they're one of the most underrated sides in Asian football, blah 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 blah? Well, Jordan made them look like an absolute fool in this match. The stats show almost complete domination too. Yes, Oman had more possession, passes, and pass accuracy, but these guys only had 3 shots and 1 on target. If you're just passing and keeping the ball without any penetration, pause, then what the hell's the point? While Jordan, on the other hand, used what they had and took their chances, which is why they had 8 shots on target from a total of 16, and they made those shots count. In the 26th minute, a Jordanian attacker skills his way past 2 Oman defenders and then finds Al Naima, one of Jordan's best players in the box, who headed the ball in to muster up a 1-0 lead for the Jordanians. The Arab nation would continue to create more chances in the first half, but they would only make it count once again at the start of the second half in the 49th minute. And this is due to the fact that Jordan were given a penalty after a foul, the right call, and the number 9 Alwan stepped up to convert the pen and make the scoreline 2-0. After this, Al Naima would shoot the ball from the edge of the box in the 54th minute, and after a slight deflection, the ball went in to make it 3-0. And finally in the 87th minute, Ali Alwan with skill and pace abused his way past an Oman defender, and then slammed the ball into the roof of the net to secure a pretty easy 4-0 victory for Jordan over Oman. Jordan in this game showed why they were the finalists at the most recent Asian Cup, and they did it without their best player too, Al-Tamari. While Oman, man, y'all made me look like a fool after I praised you guys. Come on, bruh. But now let's move on to the final game of matchday 4 in Group B, where we had Palestine taking on Kuwait in Qatar. Since obviously Palestine's home games are not being played in Palestine, if you're keeping up with the news or you're on the internet, you should probably know why. But anyways, in the game, both national teams were getting their chances, and it seemed like the deadlock would be broken eventually, and it was. But it was because of a penalty in which a Palestinian defender sloppily fouled the Kuwaiti attacker. And in the 31st minute, Youssef Nasser Al-Suleiman calmly took the spot kick and delivered it to make it 1-0 for the Kuwaitis. But this lead didn't last long, because exactly 10 minutes later in the 41st minute, Palestine got a penalty after another sloppy foul in the box, and Wessam Abu Ali, a key Palestinian player, took his penalty calmly to equalize the game 1-1. But the drama would only continue in the second half, and in the 55th minute, a Palestine player, Camilo Saldana, got a red card and was sent off. Now I know what you're thinking, what a stupid decision from Saldana, I know. But secondly, what the hell is a player with the name Camilo Saldana doing playing for Palestine? Well actually, this man is ethnically Palestinian, despite being born and raised in Chile, and definitely having a Hispanic last name. Additionally, he was developed with the Chilean youth club called Palestino. That was pretty interesting, right? The king of fun facts just dropped another one on y'all head tops. You're welcome. Back to the match though, Palestine tried to remain strong defensively even with 10 men, but Kuwait would eventually find the breakthrough in the 80th minute thanks to Nasser Al-Suleiman again, who got on the end of a great cross to bring the 2-1 lead to his nation. But the drama still isn't over, because in the 90+3 minute, after a cross and inshallah, Kumbar gets on the end of it and headed the ball somehow into the back of the net to equalize the game late and secure a point from this 2-2 draw. Now usually I would be like, this is a great result for Palestine, but these guys have the same problem as North Korea right now. They cannot get a win to save their lives, and there won't be an easier matchup than Kuwait at home. Home. So for me, I think Palestine is in a really rough position right now in terms of actually progressing from this third round. While Kuwait, yeah, these lot aren't going anywhere regardless, let's be real. Am I still salty about them knocking out my India? Yes I am. But now with all the games of the October window being done in Group B, let's go over how the table looks like right now. We got South Korea in first with 10 points. Yeah, these lot are definitely making the World Cup. Then Jordan are now in second after their triumphant 4-0 win with 7 points. Iraq are now in third with also 7 points, just a lower goal difference. Then Oman is still somehow in fourth despite losing 3 games. Kuwait are in fifth with 3 points as well, and then Palestine are in last with 2 points. So there is still some hope for Palestine and Kuwait, but it's just going to be a difficult task from now on. But enough of this Group B talk. Let's finally go over to probably my favorite group right now in Asian World Cup qualifying, Group C, where we got the likes of Japan, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, China, and Indonesia. And after the September international window, the table looked like this. Japan was on top of the table, obviously with 6 points. Saudi Arabia was in second, despite being underwhelming with 4 points. Then Bahrain was in third, surprisingly with 3 points. Indonesia was in fourth, also surprisingly with 2 points. Australia were shockingly in 5th place with 1 point, crazy I know. And then China was in dead last with 0 points, as expected to be honest.
Oh, that was uncalled for.
Now let's go over the first game of match day 3 in AFC World Cup qualifying Group C, where we had Bahrain versus Indonesia. And buckle up everybody, grab your popcorn, because this game had a ton of drama.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
Now both of these countries know that they're each other's biggest threats in terms of who can qualify for the World Cup. With Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Australia big favorites of qualifying or making it to the next round, it means one more spot is open, and these two are competing against each other for it. Now Bahrain were definitely the favorites of this match. Not only were they playing at home, but they were coming off an impressive away win against Australia where they beat them 1-0, putting them in a position of qualifying that they could only dream of. And for the most part, they made these advantages count. And although the possession stats favor them, the game was pretty even in the overall scheme of things, and both Bahrain and Indonesia had the same number of shots on target. The only difference is Bahrain had a ton of more shots, trying to capitalize on opportunities more than Indonesia. And this is the exact reason why Bahrain pounced first in this game. Straight away in the 15th minute, Bahrain was awarded a free kick, and Mohamed Marhoun knuckleballs a free kick from like 40 yards out to bring the lead to the Arab nation. And what did I say in the last video, bruh? Almost every goal in these Asian World Cup qualifiers is an absolute banger, and this goal was no different. Now Bahrain were the ones dominating the first half with the shots, as they were eager in getting more than 1 goal against the Indonesians, but they failed to do that. Instead, in the first half at a time, Indonesia got a bit lucky with some deflections, and Ragnar Ortmangoen got a great chance right in front of goal and slotted the ball in a way to bring the game back level to the Indonesians. Did Indonesia need a little bit of luck? Sure, but at least they capitalized on their one chance, so fair play to them. The second half was more of the same, with Bahrain getting more chances, but Indonesia was the one that pounced on their opportunities, with Rafael Stroik finishing a wonderful chance from the edge of the box to give his side an amazing 2-1 lead away from home in what was set to be Indonesia's most historic victory maybe ever. If Indonesia sealed the deal from here, the Indonesian people would have probably built a statue for their coach Shin Tae-yong, and I can't say I blame them. He would deserve it. But you see, at a time, in the very last play of the game, in the 90+9th minute, Bahrain would get a corner, and who else but Mohamed Marhoun, who would find his way to a rebound and score the goal to bring Bahrain level in the clash, and the match would end 2-2 following that. But here's where the drama lies. Bahrain scored in the 90+9th minute, while there was supposed to be only 6 minutes of added time, so the math ain't mathing. It might actually be the Arab Football Confederation instead of Asian for real. But okay, on the real, I understand why the Indonesians feel robbed. I would too. This would have been one of their biggest victories in football history, but there was some time wasting going on at that time. And with the law being a minimum of 6 minutes, you can't say any refereeing laws are broken with this goal either. But I feel y'all Indonesian fans, I'm pissed too.
Fuck, man. I'm mad too. Man, no, you're not.
I want to see y'all at the World Cup, man. But don't worry, beat Bahrain at home in the future, and I can see you guys there. Trust me.
We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay focused.
Moving on to the second game in Group C for match day 3, we got Australia versus China. Now this was a battle of the bottom heading into the October window, with Australia having a really poor September, losing to Bahrain and drawing Indonesia, and China, yeah, let's just say they got clapped. And not gonna lie, I mean, we all knew who was gonna win this game. come on. Sorry China, but realistically nobody believed in y'all, especially without your star man Wu Lei who was out. There was just no chance, and Australia absolutely dominated this match. I mean, look at this, 18 shots, 4 of them being on target compared to China's 1, and 73% possession. Australia were taking the 3 points no matter what. However, the game did not start in Australia's favor. In fact, in the 20th minute, China were on the receiving end of a long ball, and Shi Weneg receives the headed pass and somehow keys the ball after dribbling past 2 Australian players, and then shoots the ball into the back of the net to put China up 1-0 away from home. Everybody and their mama was shocked. China taking the lead against Australia? Impossible. Could there be another upset? Could China be back in World Cup qualifying?
Whips it in, and Lewis Miller's there!
Yeah, Lewis Miller scored his first goal for Australia and equalized in the first half at that time to bring the game back even Steven. And then in the second half, it was all Australia. In the 53rd minute, Craig Goodwin makes his name known worldwide and scored an absolute golazo to give Australia their first ever lead in third round of World Cup 2026 qualifying. Seriously, what an amazing goal that was from Adelaide United's all-time leading goal scorer. And then in the 90+ second minute, Nishan Villupillai scores on his debut to seal a 3-1 win for the Australians and get their World Cup qualifying campaign back on track. I was so happy when Nishan scored that goal, bro. I thought he was an Indian dude like me. Turns out he's Sri Lankan. But I mean, South Asian representation nevertheless. But overall, Australia got back on track. And China... Ooh.
Are you serious right now, bro?
And now let's talk about the last game of match day 3 in Group C, where we got Saudi Arabia versus Japan. And this game was always the most fascinating to me in match day 3. Not because it was 2 heavyweights battling it out against each other, or the fact that these 2 countries are tied with the highest amount of AFC Asian Cups with 3 each, but it's the fact that Japan are on fire right now, with them destroying China 7-0, and then Bahrain 5-0 away from home in September. While Saudi Arabia, despite having Roberto Mancini, the manager who won the Euros with Italy in 2021, being just a really depressing side with little to no offensive power. But even with everything I just said, Japan has, according to my ball knowledge, never beaten Saudi Arabia in Saudi Arabia. And that's what made this game really interesting to me. Because with Japan being on fire, while Saudi being cold as hell, could Japan finally break this curse of theirs? And the answer is yes. Yes, they can. Despite Saudi Arabia having the more shots and possession in this game, they weren't as clinical as Japan, and this showed in the scoreline, with Daichi Kamada getting on the end of a cross in the box and putting his side up 1-0 in the 14th minute, and then Koki Ogawa sealing the deal in the 81st minute from a corner to put Japan up 2-0 and secure all 3 points from this game. So although this performance wasn't as impressive compared to Japan in September, even though the level of opponents was vastly different, Japan broke their curse of never beating Saudi in Saudi and secured another crucial 3 points as they look to qualify for 2026. I honestly gotta say, I've been very impressed with Japan and Moriyasu, who is their manager. I didn't expect this new formation with 5 in the back with Mitoma and Ritsu Doan as wingbacks to work so far, but I've been proven wrong so far. Fair enough. Let's now move on to match day 4 in Group C, where we're gonna start off with the Japan versus Australia game. As I literally just went over Japan, you would know that they were heading into this match on some really hot form, while Australia, not so much. And yes, I know, they just got the win against China in their previous game, but Australia have had a poor start to the third round of World Cup qualifying. And with Australia having to play Japan in Japan, it wasn't looking too good for them. But to Australia's credit, they did pretty good. Well, good might be a stretch in terms of their performance, because they got absolutely dominated and only had 34% possession with 1 shot, none on target, but I meant good in terms of the result. You see, Japan dominated a lot of the chances in the first half, and even the second half, like they literally had all of the chances. But somehow in some way, the Australians took the lead in the match. Literally in the 58th minute, a cross was sent in by Australia, and Japan's Taniguchi had the funniest own goal I've seen in a long time, and somehow hit the ball backwards into his own net. I don't even know how this was even possible, but it happened. However, the Australians could not hold on to this lead, and Nakamura created a great chance all by himself, and when he crossed the ball, Australia's Burgess hit the ball into the back of the net instead to equalize the match. And surprisingly, the game would finish with these 2 own goals, and the end result would be a 1-1 draw, sharing the points. The first time Japan has dropped points in this third round, but I don't think Japan is tripping too much about this. You'll see later, but Japan are in a pretty comfortable position to qualify automatically to the World Cup in 2026. Australia, on the other hand, will definitely take a point after playing Japan away, but they're gonna need to pick up some wins real soon if they want to secure an automatic ticket to the World Cup as well. But now let's swiftly move on over to the next game in Group C, where we got China versus Indonesia. And this game might be one of the weirdest and greatest shocks in the October international window, and potentially all of World Cup qualifying. Just a brief refresher, China have been absolutely booty cheeks so far. They got lucky to even make it to the third round. Singapore's Hassan Sunni is literally the reason why, if you know you know. And in the third round, they lost to Japan 7-0, Saudi Arabia 2-1 after having the lead, and then just recently lost to Australia 3-1 after having the lead as well. So it wasn't looking good.
It's not looking good, bruv.
While Indonesia, on the other hand, have one of their most talented generations perhaps ever, and are coming off 3 consecutive draws, with the most recent one against Bahrain being controversial, in which Indonesians feel like they should have won. So although this next game was in China, where the home fans would show up and make noise for sure, everybody in the world thought that Indonesia would pick up their first win in third round of World Cup qualifying. And shit, I thought so too. It's China, bro. Come on. You can't blame me for thinking that. But you see, the footballing gods had other plans. Let's put it that way. You see, in the 21st minute, China had a free kick and just lobbed it in the box. And Indonesia should have taken care of it, but they got overconfident and China somehow got the ball back in play. And Bahrain Abdulweli gets on the end of it and scores to put China up ahead 1-0 in shocking fashion. Now I know two things about what you might be thinking. First, what is a dude with the name Bahrain Abdulweli doing playing for China? Well, he's actually not some footballer that got his Chinese citizenship recently or anything. He's actually born and raised in China and is a Uyghur ethnicity, which is why he doesn't have a common Chinese name, if you will. And second, China got the lead against Saudi Arabia and Australia and they still lost. Surely Indonesia could do the same and come back and win this game, right? Right? Well, not quite. Damn, bro, I'm rhyming everything today. I might actually be a rapper for real. Anyways, this is because in the 44th minute, Zhang Yuning was delivered a great ball and he finished it off wonderfully to give China a shocking 2-0 lead against the Indonesians right before halftime. That is wild. China had a 2-goal lead without having their best player Wu Lei playing because of injury. What the hell, bro?
What the Sigma?
Not only that, how are Indonesia that easily opened up for the goal? What happened to having a defense? Anyways, in the second half, Indonesia found a way to stop China from attacking, and instead, they were on the attack trying to get a goal to start the comeback, and they found one in the 86th minute, thanks to Tom Hay, whose deflected shot went in to bring the game back by 1. But this goal came a little too late, and China managed to hold on to secure a surprising 2-1 victory. How, bruh? How? The Indonesian national team even dominated the game. Look at their stats, bruh. They were all over this match, and they still lost. Indonesia, man, what happened? I wanted to see y'all at the World Cup, and this game was a perfect chance to secure that. But now, this loss happens? What happened to staying focused, bruh? What happened to staying locked in? Disappointing, man. Really disappointing. But it's still early on in the third round. So don't lose hope, my Indonesian viewers. There's still a chance. Enough of that game, though. Let's move on to the final game of match day 4 in Asia. Saudi Arabia versus Bahrain. And to cut straight to the chase, it was an absolutely boring 0-0 game. It would put any neutral football fan to sleep. Only one interesting thing happened in this game, and it was the fact that Al Dawsari missed another penalty for Saudi Arabia in the third round. What's going on? Just 2 years ago, this dude was dunking on later champions Argentina at the World Cup, but somehow now he missed a penalty against Indonesia in September and now against Bahrain in October. And keep in mind, these two penalties are a huge reason why Saudi Arabia didn't win those games. Saudi Arabia has to fire Roberto Mancini after this. I know he's a high-profile manager, but clearly he's only there for a bag and doesn't care whatsoever. And plus, an automatic ticket to the World Cup is in major jeopardy right now for Saudi Arabia. I can't lie. And speaking about national teams in jeopardy, let's take a look at the Group C table now. We got Japan in first place with 10 points, and they're also 5 ahead of anyone else in the group, so like I said, they're chilling. Then Australia is in second with 5 points. I don't know how this is possible, but it is. The Saudi Arabia is in third with also 5 points. Don't let the placements fool you, they're still at a risk. Then Bahrain is in fourth with 5 points. Then Indonesia is in fifth with 3 points. They're still in touching distance of a playoff spot, so don't lose hope, Indonesia. Y'all are still in there, but they could have been in second place if they just beat China. And also, speaking of China, they're in dead last still with also 3 points, but with a -9 goal difference. But for me, the battle for second place in this group is going to be very, very interesting, and I can't wait for the November international window. But now, with all that being said, as you can see, Asia World Cup 2026 qualifying has been crazy in October. However, we're not done yet, because South America's qualifying was just as crazy, if not more. But before we talk about that, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, follow my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you just want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, and overall, just to get to know me more. And also, make sure to join the Discord server, link in the description, and also follow me on Twitch. Live streams coming soon. So if you want to, feel free to hit me up with that follow. Thank you. Back to CONMEBOL. Before this October international window took place, here's how the table looked like. We had Argentina, the back-to-back Copa America World Cup champions, in first place with 18 points, Colombia in second with 16 points, Uruguay in third with 15 points, Ecuador in fourth with 11 points, Brazil in fifth with 10 points, Venezuela in sixth with 10 points, Paraguay in seventh, which is that Interconfederation playoff spot, with 9 points, Bolivia in eighth, just outside the qualifying spot with 9 points, Chile in ninth with 5 points, and Peru in 10th with 3 points. And now heading into match day 9, literally every single one of these games was crazy. Well, except one, and that was Ecuador versus Paraguay, which ended in a 0-0 boring ass snooze fest. However, if we disregard that game that arguably Ecuador should have gotten the 3 points since they were at home and are the better team, the remaining 4 fixtures were bangers. Let's start off with Peru versus Uruguay, and my oh my was this a crazy one. Heading into this game, Peru were the only national team in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying that didn't have a win yet, and despite them playing in Lima, meaning they were at home, it still didn't feel like that there was any realistic chance that Peru could even snatch 1 point from Uruguay. You know, the side that was third place on the table heading into this game and got third place at the Copa America that just happened this summer. But this is South American football, man. Anything can happen, and this game proved that. Despite losing out on possession by a long shot to Uruguay, both teams had the same amount of shots on target. However, only one team was able to capitalize on theirs, and that was actually Peru. You see, in the 88th minute, Miguel Harajo found himself somehow wide open in the box, and he headed in the ball from across to give a very late lead to his country Peru, and they would actually hold on to this 1-0 lead, meaning Peru secured their first win in this 2026 qualifying cycle and potentially reignited their World Cup 2026 hopes. Okay, who am I kidding? Probably not, but hey, at least they'll probably comfortably finish ahead of Chile, right? That's gotta mean for something, surely. But anyway, speaking of Chile, let's talk about their home game against Brazil next. Now, Chile have not been good in 2024. They had a terrible Copa America, and they've been terrible in qualifying, but so have Brazil, to their standards obviously. And that made this game kind of unpredictable, especially when in the second minute, Eduardo Vargas finds himself open from across and heads the ball into the back of the net to give his Chile side an early 1-0 lead. Not really sure how that header wasn't saved. Alisson Becker would have definitely saved that. It's just a shame that he's injured though. Now Chile right here are in a dream scenario. Brazil are coming off a loss against Paraguay, and now Chile have an early lead. All they have to do is defend for their lives and not implode to this rather weaker Brazilian attack, with Vinicius being out injured this window, even though he doesn't show up for Brazil most of the time, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But guess what? Chile did what they do best, and that's to f it all up. Chile allowed Brazil back into the match and let them create opportunities for themselves, and eventually in added time of the first half, Igor Jesus would take advantage of that and headed in across from Savio to bring the game back level for the Brazilians. This was a huge goal for Brazil. I would argue that if they didn't get this goal right before halftime, things would be looking rather grim for this national team. But shout out to Botafogo's Igor Jesus. He did the business, and that Dragon Ball celebration was tough too. I just know he's playing that new game that just came out too for real. Then in the second half, I mean it was all Brazil to be honest. And late into the game in the 89th minute, Luis Enrique, the ex-Real Betis winger, steps up for his country big time and skilled his way past the Chile defender on the edge of the box and finished the ball in beautifully to secure a 2-1 win away from home for Brazil and a huge victory for them. The Botafogo boys stepped up when their country needed them the most. That's fire. And then after the game too, the Brazilian president Lula da Silva said that the national team should consist of more, if not only, Brazilian players that play in the country. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a ton of quality in the Brazilian league, but are you seriously telling me if Neymar is fit, you're not going to select him just because he's not playing in Brazil? Come on, bro. What is the president thinking? Even though I understand where he's trying to get at, I just disagree with his take. Let me know what y'all think though in the comments down below. I would love to know what Brazilian fans think about this. But anyways, let's move on to Brazil's rivals, Argentina, and they had to play Venezuela next away from home. Now this game was bound to be a dogfight, especially when you look at the state of that pitch, man. It looked like these guys were playing in a pool or something, literally. In fact, it was raining so bad that the game had to be delayed by quite a bit before it was even allowed to go ahead. Now even with all of this, Argentina still found a way to dominate possession. I mean, as expected, they're literally the better team, but they also found a way to get the early lead away from home, with Otamendi getting a lucky deflection to him in the 13th minute, and he just hit the ball into the open net to give his country a 1-0 lead. And from here on out, you would expect Argentina to convert maybe one more chance or something and secure the W. But Venezuela are almost indestructible at home, and with them getting a ton of chances, it was only a matter of time before they convert one. And of course, Salomon Rondon would be the hero for Venezuela, with him scoring a header from across in the 65th minute to equalize the game for Venezuela. Death, taxes, and Salomon Rondon scoring for his country. These things are simply inevitable.
Inevitable.
Nevertheless, this game would end in a 1-1 draw, and Venezuela and Argentina would both escape with 1 point. This was a huge point for the Venezuelans as they try to qualify for their first World Cup, while Argentina, I mean, they're basically guaranteed a spot at the tournament already, let's be real. But now, I think it's time we move on to the craziest, wildest game of matchday 9. It's Bolivia versus Colombia. Now to be quite honest with y'all, Bolivia absolutely stinks at football, or at least they usually do. But you see, Bolivia has taken advantage of something during this World Cup qualifying cycle, and it's El Alto. Bolivia are always known for playing in high altitude games at home, at La Paz. But for this qualifying cycle, they took it one step further and went to their highest ever stadium, Municipal Stadium El Alto, which is 4,150 meters or 13,450 feet above sea level, and is approximately 1,840 steps higher compared to La Paz. And this makes it even more difficult for teams to come to Bolivia and play against them, giving Bolivia the biggest advantage possible to try and make the 2026 World Cup. And so far, it's been working, especially back in the September international window, where they slapped Venezuela silly 4-0 at home, and this got their qualifying cycle back on track. There was a problem this time though, and it was the fact that Bolivia had to play Colombia, arguably the second hottest team in South America right now, only behind the kings of the region, Argentina. Colombia literally made the Copa America final, and they haven't lost a game in 90 minutes in like 2.5 years. In fact, the only game they lost before October was to Argentina in that Copa America final, but that was in extra time, so it was looking grim for Bolivia, I can't lie. I wasn't expecting too much from them in this game, despite the altitude advantage, and I didn't really expect anything at all after the 20th minute, because one of Bolivia's players, Hector Cuellar, got a red card for slide tackling a Colombian forward while he was basically through 2-1 goal. From that moment on, I thought Bolivia was gonna get cooked, but I was wrong. Oh, so very wrong. Because despite Colombia getting most of the great chances, they couldn't capitalize on any of them, while Bolivia on the other hand did. And it was thanks to the 20-year-old attacking midfielder who plays for Santos in the second division of Brazil, Miguel Terceros. This guy is a baller. Not only did he drop one Colombian player during this play, he dropped two, and then he absolutely unleashed a venomous shot straight into the top left-hand corner to give Bolivia an unexpected 1-0 lead over the Colombians. But that's not it though, because Bolivia managed to hold on to that lead, and they became the first national team to defeat Colombia in 90 minutes in like 2.5 years. Bolivia beat Colombia. Let me say that again for y'all. Bolivia beat Colombia. What in the world is going on here? Big up to Bolivia, man. They really want to be at the 2026 World Cup, huh? And I'm sure Colombia weren't even tripping too much about this either. They'll probably be at the World Cup anyways. Now moving on to match day 10, let's talk about the most boring game first. Uruguay versus Ecuador. This had 0-0 written all over it from the start. And guess what happened? Yeah, it was a 0-0 result. When the first few games happened of CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, it felt like it was almost a guarantee that Uruguay was going to make the World Cup. They beat Argentina away from home. They beat Brazil. They were getting good results, etc. It looked like they were going to top the table, to be honest. And look, I'm not saying Uruguay are in some serious jeopardy here, despite the intro of the video. I had to bet y'all somehow. But Uruguay are actually winless in their last 4 games of qualifying, drawing almost every single one of those matches and losing to Peru. It honestly feels like Bielsa, the coach of Uruguay, is losing his grip on this team, and nothing seems to be clicking. Federico Valverde goes from looking world class for Real Madrid to absolute cheeks with Uruguay, and the same could be said about all of these players, including my boy Darwizzi. Disappointing for Uruguay, but I feel like Ecuador wouldn't be too mad about this result. I mean, getting a point on the road away to Uruguay is still pretty decent. However, Ecuador really need to get some wins soon in the next couple of windows and fix their broken offense, or else they could also be in jeopardy of not qualifying for the World Cup either. More so than Uruguay, but we'll talk about how the table looks like after I cover the other matches. So let's swiftly move on to Colombia versus Chile, and this had beatdown written all over this game. I mean, look, Colombia did receive a shocking loss against Bolivia that ruined their streak, I know, but come on, you think the worst team in CONMEBOL right now is gonna defeat one of the hottest teams in CONMEBOL away from home? Be serious. Colombia absolutely dominated this match. I mean, 63% possession, almost doubled the passes, 18 shots, 9 on target. Yeah, Colombia were always gonna win this one, and they did, very convincingly in fact. In the 34th minute, the kings of set pieces Colombia had a ball sent into the box from a corner, and a player headed the ball far from the box and deflected off of Davinson Sanchez's head to somehow go in. I don't know how purposeful this was from Sanchez, but the ball went into the net, and Colombia got the lead in this game because of this, so fair play. Then in the second half, at around the 52nd minute, Chile made a huge mistake in the back, and Luis Diaz scored the ball from a very unselfish play to put his country up 2-0. Luis Diaz coming up clutch for his country. This has happened too many times now. He's too good. Then after some more domination in the 82nd minute, Jean Duran finally gets his second goal for his country, and Colombia go up 3-0. But this isn't the end yet, because Sinisterra joined in on the fun and scored off his own rebound in the 90+3rd minute to secure a thumping 4-0 win for the Colombians. I mean, this was bound to happen. If y'all didn't expect Chile to lose this game, then you guys just don't know ball. Even Chile fans were probably expecting to lose. But one thing I do gotta mention is that this Colombian kit that they were wearing for this game is just so beautiful, man. Colombia always got some heat kits on them for real. Let's now move on to the next game, where we got Paraguay versus Venezuela. Now, both of these national teams are coming off draws from match day 9, which meant that both teams wanted to get a win this time around. And although Paraguay was playing at home, I would still say Venezuela had a decent chance of getting 3 points away from home. And despite Paraguay dominating the stats in terms of shots, shots on target, and possession, the Venezuelans were the ones who got on the score sheet first thanks to Aramburu, who scored a low kick finish to put his country up 1-0. But Paraguay would have the chance to equalize from the spot in the first half, and their best player arguably, Julio Enciso, would step up to take the penalty, and you would expect the Brian man to calmly slot the penalty in, but instead it was an absolutely god-awful penalty, and the Venezuelan goalkeeper saves it. What was Enciso doing here, bro? Really disappointing. Regardless, Paraguay were not dead in the water yet, and they turned up the heat in the second half, and of course it was one of their best players today, Antonio Sanabria, who came up clutch for the country and saved them. You see in the 59th minute, Sanabria made a great run in the box, and the ball came straight to him, and he easily finished it in the net to equalize the game. And then in the 74th minute, Julio Enciso makes amends for his terrible penalty and heads the ball to a great spot for Sanabria to finish it in, and that's exactly what he did. And with that, Paraguay held on to this lead, and they secured a big 3 points at home and beat Venezuela 2-1, giving them a lifeline back into qualifying for the 2026 World Cup. I didn't initially think that Paraguay had that dog in them to come back, but they proved me wrong. Damn. And Venezuela, yeah, it's looking rough, buddy.
Big man team, yeah? It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
Moving on to the next game, we got the kings of the region currently, Argentina, playing the massive underdogs, Bolivia. And although Bolivia have been playing very well recently, like beating Venezuela, Chile, and Colombia, Argentina is simply on a whole different level, especially when Bolivia isn't playing at their home stadium. Yeah, they were cooked from the very first minute, especially with Lionel Messi back in the picture for Argentina, the literal GOAT of the sport. It was gonna be a long day for Bolivia, and it certainly was. In the 19th minute, Bolivia made a defensive error, and sadly for them, the ball landed at Messi's feet. And when that happens, you just gotta pray to God that he slips or some shit. Sadly for Bolivia, that didn't happen, and Messi scored on his return to Argentina and gave his country the 1-0 lead. Then in the 43rd minute, Messi was on the run with the ball and he had open space to shoot. Instead, he decided to be unselfish and passed it to Lautaro Martinez, who finished it off instead and made it 2-0. But Argentina were still going to cook more in the first half, because in the 45th plus 3rd minute, Julian Alvarez received a long ball and got a bit lucky with a bounce. Regardless, he scored the goal and put his nation up 3-0 before halftime. Yeah, it was over before the second half even started, but Argentina wanted to run up their goal difference, and they did just that. Despite getting a couple of close opportunities earlier on, ex-Atlanta United player Thiago Almada would finally get Argentina's 4th in the 69th minute, and then in the 84th minute, Lionel Messi would show that he still got it, dribbling past a couple of Bolivian defenders before sliding the ball in to make a 5-0. And then 2 minutes later in the 86th minute, Messi would do the exact same thing and hit the ball in from further range to make it 6 and secure a hat trick for himself as Argentina go on and close out this match 6-0. Yeah, Bolivia got rinsed, destroyed, cooked, etc. in this game.
Oh yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
And Messi, this dude got 3 goals and 2 assists in a 6-0 win. Yeah, he's the GOAT, bro, and he's still carrying on Argentina. Wow, he might actually play at the 2026 World Cup, you know. But now, let's finally move on to the last game of matchday 10 in South American World Cup qualifying, where we got Brazil versus Peru. Now, if you don't recall, Brazil have had a pretty underwhelming World Cup qualifying campaign so far, and although they got a 2-1 win away to Chile on matchday 9, they were really cutting it close with that one. So some would say that Brazil were in serious risk of not qualifying automatically to the World Cup. But today, despite injuries to key players like Neymar, Vinicius, etc., Brazil finally showed up during qualifying and ran up the score at home. Although it seemed like they'd go down early again to Peru, the goal was disallowed for offsides, rightfully so. And then around 20 minutes later in the 38th minute, Brazil will be awarded a penalty for an obvious handball in the box by a Peruvian defender. I don't know what that defender was thinking, bro. That was obviously going to be a penalty. And this season, Rafinha's been on fire, so when he had to step up and take the penalty, we all knew he wasn't going to miss, and he put Brazil up 1-0. Then throughout the remainder of the first half and the start of the second half, it was all Brazil, and they'd be the ones getting the majority of the chances. Eventually, at around the 54th minute, Brazil will be awarded another penalty after Savio was fouled in the box. And like I said about Rafinha, he's not missing the season, and he scored the penalty to get a brace and put Brazil up 2-0. Then later on in the 71st minute, Andres Pereira was scissor kicked the ball from a beautifully placed cross and finished it off amazingly to put the green and yellow up 3-0. Seeing him wear the number 7 is a bit weird though, I can't lie. And then in the 74th minute, Luis Enrique was scoring back-to-back games for his country and scored to secure a triumphant 4-0 victory for the Brazilians. Well done, Brazil. I thought these lot were cooked, but honestly, they played a lot better in this window. I don't know why, but Brazil are performing better without their most talented player right now, Vinicius, who in my opinion is about to win the Ballon d'Or. This is something really interesting to take a further look at. And also, Rodrigo feels like a ghost sometimes for this national team too. You hate to see it, but overall, when Neymar comes back, yeah, these lot are gonna cook hard again. I can feel it. Anyways, with both matchday 9 and 10 being completed in the October international window, let's take a look at how the table is looking like now. And first, we obviously got Argentina with 22 points. Then in second, we got Colombia, obviously, with 19 points. And third, Uruguay is still somehow up there, but they better be really careful, because if they don't start winning soon, they're gonna start dropping real fast. In fourth, we got Brazil, who climbed up the table a lot this international window. Then Ecuador is in fifth with 13 points. Paraguay is after that in sixth barely with also 13 points. Then Bolivia are currently in the Interconfederation playoff spot with 12 points. Congrats to them. They had a hell of a window beating Colombia. Then there's Venezuela, who seem to have a good chance of qualifying to the World Cup, with them being 4th place a couple of months ago, but now they've dropped to 8th place with 11 points, which isn't even a qualifying spot. Then there's Peru in 9th with 6 points. Congrats on beating Uruguay though. And then we have Chile, the worst team in CONMEBOL right now, and they're in dead last with 5 points. Yeah, that's tough. Now that's enough on South American qualifying. Let's now move on to everybody's favorite, Oceania World Cup qualifying, aka the OFC region. But before we talk about that, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and it means a lot, so thank you. And also, if you guys can, follow my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Nabuto, if you just want to hear my thoughts on football games, transfers, and overall, just to get to know me more. And also, make sure to join the Discord server, link in the description, and also follow me on Twitch. Live streams coming soon. So if you want to, feel free to hit me up with that follow. Thank you. Now, it is important to talk about the Oceania World Cup qualifying, because with the World Cup being expanded to 48 teams, the Oceania region will have one guaranteed spot at the World Cup. So one of these bad boys is making the World Cup, hence why we have to cover the region. Will it probably be New Zealand? Yeah, maybe. But in football, anything can happen, so you never know. What? Now I have to admit something. Oceania World Cup qualifying didn't start in October. It actually started in September. And if you watch my previous World Cup qualifying review video, you would know that I didn't mention OFC at all.
That shit is so disrespectful. So disrespectful.
And it's not like I neglected the whole region on purpose. I swear to you, I thought OFC World Cup qualifying would start in October, not in September. So therefore now in this review video, we're gonna go over the first round that happened in September, and also the start of the second round, which happened in this month, October. You can't watch Avengers Endgame without knowing what happened in Infinity War, you feel me? Same thing applies here. So let's start from the very beginning in Oceania World Cup qualifying. The way it works is like this. In the first round, the 4 worst FIFA ranked OFC teams played in a 3-match knockout round, and the winner of of this qualified to the second round of qualifying. Then in the second round, there's 2 groups of 4, and the top 2 teams of each group will advance to the third round. So nobody will automatically qualify to the World Cup from the second round of OFC qualifying, just to make sure I got that point across. And then in the third round, the 4 teams that advanced from the previous round would play in a 3-match knockout round in March 2025, and the winner of this would automatically qualify for the 2026 World Cup, while the runner-up, aka the finalist, would make it to the Interconfederation playoff. Now that we got the structure of this region's qualifying out of the way, let's talk about what happened in Oceania's first round of qualifying. And with that, let's meet the 4 worst teams in Oceania. First, we got the Cook Islands, who are ranked 191st in the world. Keep in mind, there's only like 210 countries in FIFA's official rankings, so this is a pretty bad ranking if we're being honest. And these guys have actually never qualified for the World Cup, obviously, and have never even made it to the second round before. However, it does seem like a beautiful place. I might need to take wifey here for a honeymoon someday. First, I gotta find myself a wifey though, you feel me?
Stop it. Get some help.
Next we got Tonga, the worst ranked national team in Oceania actually, with that being ranked 199th by FIFA. And fun fact, actually this isn't even a fact, this flag reminds me of an ambulance, not a hospital. I'm talking specifically about an ambulance. I don't know why I felt the need to mention that, but I did, so you're welcome, I guess. Okay. Moving on from that, we got the America Samoa, who are ranked 189th in the world, which is better than the Cook Islands and Tonga. And what people mostly know from the America Samoa is that they're actually the national team that got destroyed by Australia 31-0 that one time back in 2001. Conceding 31 goals in one game? Oof, that's tough. But fun fact, the national team's coach is Thomas Rongen, a product of the US soccer system and an ex-US under-20 men's coach too. An American helping out the America Samoa? How poetic. And now we have Samoa, who are ranked 185th place on the FIFA leaderboards, which is the best out of these 4 national teams. And a couple of fun facts for you, their home stadium is called Tolefua Joseph Sepp Blatter Football Fields. Sepp Blatter, huh? Interesting. And another fun fact is one of their players, Farrell Trainer, plays in Germany for a club called TSV Schott Mainz, while another player, Alex Malolu, plays in Argentina for a club named San Jorge. Yeah, truly fascinating stuff. I just thought these 2 things were quite random, so I just had to mention it. Now let's move on to the games, where we're gonna start off with Cook Islands versus Tonga in this semi-final style knockout game. And off the bat, I just gotta mention, man, these Tonga kids are actually so fire. If anyone knows where to cop one of these bad boys, let me know, cause this shit is hard as hell. Now, even though Tonga are the bottom ranked team overall, they actually ended up beating the Cook Islands, who are 8 places ahead of them. And this is thanks to 3 people. Tikoipa, who scored a simple one-on-one chance in the 27th minute, Polovili, the captain, who scored a penalty in the 39th minute, and then even though the Cook Islands got 1 goal back in the 63rd minute, Tonga's Kefu in the 79th minute lobbed the keeper to secure a 3-1 win and make it to the final of the first round. While in the other game, we had America Samoa versus Samoa, the Samoan derby if you will. Now Samoa actually won this game pretty comfortably, with Tamua scoring from the spot in the 59th minute, and Vai scoring in the last chance of the game in the 90+8th minute to secure a 2-0 victory for the Samoans, which means that in the first round final, we got the lowest ranked nation in OFC, Tonga, versus the highest ranked nation from the 4, Samoa. And sadly, there's not going to be some Cinderella underdog story where Tonga somehow shocks the region and makes it to the second round. Because although Tonga got the surprising lead in the 45th plus first minute thanks to Sonasi, Samoa equalized late in the 82nd minute thanks to Salisbury, who scored an absolute worldie that hit the underside of the post and went in. And with that, the match was set into extra time, where Famatau in the 105th plus third minute gets his head on the end of a free kick and puts Samoa up 2-1, a lead that they would hold on to the end, which meant that Samoa eliminated Tonga to make the second round of Oceania World Cup qualifying. So congrats to them, but let's be real, none of these lot are going to make the World Cup. Okay. And now finally, we're at the second round of OFC World Cup 2026 qualifying, and let's go over the groups. In Group A, we got the mighty New Caledonia, Fiji, Solomon Islands, and Papua New Guinea, while in Group B, we got Vanuatu, New Zealand, Samoa, who are in round 1, and Tahiti. Now I'm not going to introduce all 8 teams separately and give you fun facts about each of them, because frankly, who really cares?
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care. Let me tell you, we don't care.
But the one fact that I do kind of want to mention is that Tahiti actually made it to the 2013 FIFA Confederations Cup, and at this tournament, they got absolutely cream pied by Spain 10-0. I don't know why I remember this, but this game is ingrained into my memory forever. I can't help it. Now let's start with the first game in Group A of Matchday 1, where we got New Caledonia versus Papua New Guinea, a battle of the news, some would say. Now, New Caledonia would dominate the chances from the get-go, and at around the 20th minute, New Caledonia would get a penalty for a foul in the box, and Joseph Atale calmly takes a spot kick and converts it to gain the 1-0 lead for his country. Papua New Guinea would start to get chances after this goal, but their flame would soon fade out, because in the 45th minute, Gope Fenepej caught the goalkeeper way off his line and lobbed him to give New Caledonia a 2-0 lead. And although in the second half, Semi would bring Papua New Guinea within 1 thanks to his goal in the 70th minute, Haywajin would secure the 3-1 win in the 83rd minute thanks to his wide open shot in the box. A huge huge win for New Caledonia. They've done the business here. Now on to the other match of Group A, we had the Solomon Islands versus Fiji. And after some terrible meme-like defending from Solomon Islands, Fiji's Krishna would hop on the loose ball and score in the 13th minute to give his side the 1-0 lead. Something that Fiji would hold on to for the entire 90, securing the 3 points. So with that being said, here's what Group A looks like after match day 1. We got New Caledonia in first place with 3 points and a higher goal difference, then Fiji in second with also 3 points, Solomon Islands in third since they only conceded 1 goal, and Papua New Guinea in last. There's still everything to play for, so let's see what happens. Now moving on to Group B, let's start off with the biggest match of the OFC window in my opinion, New Zealand versus Tahiti. And it was game set match from literally minute 2, because New Zealand pounced on a Tahiti defender mistake, and Elijah Just scored a worldie with his left foot to give New Zealand a 1-0 lead. And this lead will only get added on to throughout the match, with Chris Wood, the New Zealand captain and the Nottingham Forest striker. I swear, I feel like sometimes people forget that Chris Wood comes from New Zealand. But anyways, he scores a header in the 67th minute to bring the lead to 2-0, and then Benjamin Wayne would secure the 3 points in the 89th minute, with his goal gifting New Zealand a 3-0 victory over Tahiti. Big win for New Zealand, and it's a great and expected start from them. Now let's go over to the last game of match day 1, where we got Vanuatu versus Samoa. And I mean, this was game set match from almost minute 1 too, I'm not gonna hold you. In the 7th minute, Vanuatu's Mitch Cooper gets on the end of a cross and gives his country an early 1-0 lead in the game. Then in the 36th minute, John Alick would have a great touch around the keeper, and he slotted the ball in coolly to give his country a 2-0 lead. However, things would get slightly interesting, with Samoa's Viliamu bringing the game back within 1 with his goal in the 55th minute. But then in the 57th minute, John Alick again would score and give his country Vanuatu a calm 3-1 lead. So yeah, I kinda lied. It wasn't really that interesting. And no, Kalu would score in the 90+ first minute to secure a 4-1 win for Vanuatu on the first match day. And with that, this is how Group B looks like currently. We got Vanuatu in first place due to goals forwarded, then New Zealand is second for now, Samoa in third, and then Tahiti in last place in fourth. A lot can change in the November international window though, so let's see what happens. But anyways, that's everything that has happened in the October international window regarding World Cup 2026 qualifying. It's been pretty insane, right? I wasn't lying. But yeah, I hope this helped cover you guys on what's going on with World Cup qualifying right now. And this was one long ass video, so you guys better have gotten something out of this. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Also, follow my Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and join the Discord server. All the links are in the YouTube description. And last but not least, if you want to learn more about Jean Duran's rise in the football world and how he became one of the best young strikers today, you definitely want to check out this video right here. You won't regret it.